Hello and welcome to the Quackcast. This is the Drunkduck Quackcast. Hello everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
So in this Quackcast we're going to be talking about character traits, the things that differentiate characters from one another, and how we design them, how we come up with those things, which will be an interesting little talk.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into that, of course I'm talking to Tance and Baines, which I didn't mention their names. I just said hello everybody in the very start of the Quackcast, so hello Tance, Reen and Baines. Before we get into that, I'll have to bring up the featured comic. Quackcast gave us the featured comic, which is called Out by the Lab. So, Quai, please tell us about Out by the Lab.
Hello, this is Quackcast, and the feature I have selected for this week is Out by the Lab by Mr. Penguin, and it is rated E for everyone. One unsuspecting evening, Sam, a vampire, and Wolfie, a werewolf, are relaxing in front of the television with a full bowl of popcorn. 20 minutes from now, a mad scientist is going to be blasted backwards in time with a time cannon. The resulting time portal from the experiment gone wrong is filled with dangerous creatures, and now a vampire and werewolf must team up, melee style, to battle a room full of time spiders, while a scientist attempts to redirect the course of a previous timeline. Failure to close the time loop could mean the end of the universe. A friendly horror comic in black, white, and grayscale. Full pages of original panel layouts featuring hand-lettered font. Discover whether the heroic trio will be able to fix the time loop, and read Out by the Lab by Mr. Penguin, rated E.
And that was Quackcast telling us about Out by the Lab, which is her featured comic. I haven't even seen it, so congrats to Quai for finding that new one. Alright, so next up we have Gumwallis' featured music, which, the tune from Gumwallis this week is
Oblique, a serious, desolate, mysterious, claustrophobic sound that elevates to a more confident, rocky, open, expansive feel, suggesting open vistas and distance. So take it away, Gumwallis, with your theme to Oblique.
Gumwallis' theme
To Oblique, which is a comic written by Gene Joke and illustrated by David Abiola Olukuga, rated T for teen.
So, we're chatting about physical traits that set characters apart. So yeah, this particular topic was influenced by my work on the character, um, the best character award presentation for the Drunkduck Awards, which is the Drunkduck Awards, which are currently underway, aren't they? Pretty much. And Baines had this one, Best Character Awards, and I begged and pleaded and did everything. I got it down on bended knee and did tribute songs and everything. And finally, I wooed Baines in order to get this this presentation from him. And now I'm late with it, so I haven't finished it. So I'll just tell Nick here that it's Baines' fault that he didn't give it to me until too late.
Oh man, always in trouble with the Messiah.
But yeah, so I was glad to do it, and when I was doing it, I was putting a bunch of characters from Bottomless Waitress on there: Nikki, Frances, Polly, and Jane. So these are 4 particular characters, and they're all very, very different characters. And I was just taken aback by how different and how distinct they were in various ways. And these characters are very well differentiated from one another. And I was also watching Steven Universe at the same time, binge watching it. And those characters are also very distinctly different in various ways. Now, we're not talking about like skin color or ethnicity or height. The differences are far different than that. You know, different hairstyles, different like body shapes in completely different ways, you know, like square bodies or long bodies, short and compact, or big and compact, or big and round. You know, all these amazingly different character traits you can have, physical differences you can have in bodies. Like, we get used to Marvel and DC work where you've got relatively cookie cutter bodies, you know, character types. They all look pretty similar. All the men are very
athletic.
Athletic. They're all gym bros basically, and yeah, the women are skinny gym bros. You know, they're not bodybuilder women. Some of them are, like She-Hulk, but most of the women aren't. Like,
I would say more like gymnasts, but with boobs.
Yeah. Like older gymnasts. So
yeah,
none of them, and they fall into very narrow physical body types, very narrow. Like, in reality, you do have women who are exactly that shape, exactly the comic shape, but they're a minority because, you know, people's physical types range from all different kinds of shapes and sizes, and these ones are all pretty much very similar heights and very similar body shapes. The women in these comics are way more similar than the men. The men have much more variation, especially, you know, weird characters like the Hulk or that guy with the big helmet, whatever his name is, or you know, all these, the Blob. That's another one. Or, yeah, that what's the X-Men character? The guy with the tail and everything. I mean, there's Beast, of course, who is
a night.
That's Nightcrawler. The one, Nightcrawler. Yeah. So a very skinny man there, still very strong muscle definition, but very skinny and very small. Versus Wolverine, who is a compact, like 5 foot tall, very very muscular, very hairy guy. And then you have Cyclops, who is a more average man body shape, or average for a comic. And yeah, Beast, who is a big compact muscle fellow. Yeah, the Nightcrawler, skinny, and Gambit, and all these kind of different characters in their different shapes. But yeah, the men are very different shapes, but the women aren't. They're very So I'm just talking about X-Men because I've watched a lot of the cartoons and stuff like that. But say Rogue and what's the blue one?
Mystique.
Same body shape.
Or Smurfette. Maybe.
Always Smurfette. Oh, Smurfette's another weird one because she's just a male Smurf with a white dress.
Yeah.
Yeah, she got a wig and a dress.
That's
I like it.
Basically. Yeah.
Any one of them could be Smurfette and you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
It could be Greedy
Yeah.
Smurf. Who knows? It could be Brainy
I
Smurf.
love that too. Archie comics, which with Betty and Veronica and all the supporting female characters, or at least 98% of them probably, all look exactly the same with different hairdos.
Yes, they do. Oh, but are you a Betty man or a Veronica man, Baines? Come on.
It varies. These days, I love Betty. When I was younger, I loved Veronica.
See that just dark hair means a lot.
Yeah. Well, they had very different personalities. That's a whole other story.
Oh yeah, well, all dark-haired women are all bitches, of course, and blondes are all bubbleheads. That's nice, friendly people. That's just how it is.
Right.
Archie tells us that's so, and the hair color indicates it. So
and all the brunettes are dull wallflowers.
yeah, exactly. And the redheads are crazy sex maniacs. So Tance, you might want to think about that. Careful.
Oh my God! I have to put a disclaimer. This is dull. It's not real. Oh no.
Doesn't matter in the world of comics. Change your hairstyle, change the personality. That's how it works.
Exactly, that's it.
You could be wearing a wig and it wouldn't matter. It's like a superpower. Oh dear. But yeah, physical traits in reality are a lot more different from just different, like twins with different hairstyles, which is what the comics tend to do. I mean, we talked about this in our video. I mean, our Patreon video focused mainly on boobs and different boob shapes, which we won't be talking about now because we've already done that.
Yeah.
But the real differences are far more advanced than just hairstyles and stuff. But there is a good reason why they do that in a lot of commercial comics, because commercial comics are a hell of a lot of work to produce, especially for artists who are doing all these pages and different characters and different styles, and it's a bit easier for them to just focus on one or two particular body shapes and get those right and be able to redraw those over and over and over, rather than do massively different characters. Say Steven Universe these characters are hugely different, but they're very simplified. Incredibly simplified and very easy to draw, versus comic characters who are much more complicated and much more difficult to draw. I wouldn't want to be doing that over and over and over again. So yeah, kudos to these artists, even though they're boring and they all look the same. There's a good reason for it. Yeah, I mean, well, and the male. I caveat that by repeating what I said. Like, there's a lot of difference with. There's not a lot. There's a bit more difference with the male characters than there are with the female characters. They are more set in their ways, and that's not because it's easier to draw. That's because there's this old sexist idea that it's mainly men who read comics, and they're wanting to get those readers in by doing these characters who are culturally more directed to a male readership by this particular body shape of a woman, basically, and that's why they do it in that form. Everyone's got the same body as Wonder Woman, Catwoman, Mystique, Rogue. They all have that similar body shape, like an athletic hourglass with big boobs, pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that it would help them a bit more if they applied the same differentiation to female bodies as they do to the male bodies. I mean, we have like She-Hulk, who's different, but then again, she's not that different. She's just the same body shape but taller.
That's what I was going to say. I don't really I have been racking my brains to to just recall just a single female character that is not like Aunt May, having a
Oh,
different
yeah.
body character, a body shape, and I can't come up with them. Doesn't mean they don't exist because I'm not that much of a like mainstream superhero comic fan, but it goes to show. Uh,
Yeah.
There
That's
are a
a
few.
good point.
They're outliers for sure. I would say.
Okay. I mean, yeah, there are slightly different ones, like Gwen Stacy, especially when she's a Gwenpool, is a bit more compact, a bit shorter, I think.
but she's
She's a
still like
younger character.
streamlined and very exercised.
Yeah. He has pretty much a variation of the same Wonder Woman physique that they all do.
And there is this like quote unquote justification why they all look like that because they are superheroines, they exercise, they are basically gym bro girls or whatever. However, if you take like there is this very iconic photo shoot of a lineup of Olympic athletes, lady or Olympic athletes at their prime in bathing suits, in the same bathing suit. They are all wearing the same bathing suit. And you can see very athletic bodies. Everyone is very exercised, goes without say. But their body types are vastly different, although they are all very exercised.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, they're all athletes, and it's dramatic differences, like
yeah,
quite shocking. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was
like
fascinating.
for a weightlifter, that's going to be a completely different physicality to a runner versus a swimmer
Mhm.
versus a shot putter versus
Yeah.
a decathlete, all these kind of things. Yeah, because those sports prioritize different body shapes, or different body shapes do better at them.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah,
people are naturally different.
yeah, not only people are different, they require different physical traits, as you said, and the way they train is completely different, and that would, in turn, give them very specific strengths and weaknesses on the physical level. And again, I was watching. We have a very like top tier athlete in rings, in like he's a gymnast, and he's he's dubbed the Lord of the Rings. His name is Lefteris Petrunias. Anyone who is into uh, this kind of thing, like Olympic Games, gymnastics, blah blah blah, will know him. Um, and he has this YouTube channel where he basically is a goof.
Hmm.
Like he does all sorts of stuff
Mhm.
that are not very serious. He doesn't take himself very seriously, which I really really appreciate. So he is married to a gymnast, shocking, who is she's excellent at the beam, and they have of course very different physique. He's like really inverted triangle, like very broad shoulders, pecs that are scary looking, like this, like super well defined big arms,
Yeah.
to hold his weight on the rings and stuff. And she is basically a stick figure that happens to have lots of muscle around the sticks. So that's basically it. And they were trying to show people, because there was some kind of controversy, I won't get into that, that being very exercised doesn't mean that everyone can do everyone's exercises. And they demonstrated that by having his wife do like a very simple exercise at the rings, and he tried to do a very simple exercise at the beam, and they both failed terribly. Like they looked like novices. And they, they said like they both, and you could see that it was visceral, like never again, I'm not touching this again, thank you, bye. So eh, why did I go into all of this? uh, because you would then have superheroes that are super exercised, peak condition, very over OP, in everything. But some would be able to do certain things better than the others, totally due to body shape and how where the focus of the body is in physical exertion. So
Sure.
Yeah, truly. I mean, in, say, for standard superhero comics, we tend to have different kinds of superheroes. So Superman is like really strong, can fly, so he's like an all-rounder sort of thing. But then we have like the Flash, who just runs. He's what they
Mhm.
call a speedster, and there's a lot of different characters who can have that same physical ability. But you look at runners, and there's different body shapes for different sorts of runners. So if it's a sprinter, they might have really, really long limbs and be quite muscular. But then if we've got like a marathon runner, they tend to be very spare and
Mhm.
like very skinny, but still be quite muscular. But yeah, there's not much fat on their bodies, especially for women. So yeah, the shapes are very peculiar depending on what people do. Yeah, like really, really strong people don't look like bodybuilders,
No.
like weightlifters and stuff like that. They've got a very large chests and very large arms, very thick torsos and slim hips. That seems to be a thing.
Yeah, like take a look at Michael Phelps who is like a swimmer.
Oh,
Uh,
bizarre body shape, very
very,
long.
he looks weird. Like if you see him, like actually just appraise his body, he looks weird. I would like Aquaman to look like that, honestly, because
Yes.
that
Hmm.
would make a lot of sense.
You know, actually, speaking of that, a few years ago,
Hmm.
there was like the Iron Woman event down at the local beach here, which is Iron Woman is this very physical kind of competition people have. These athletes who are just focused on like swimming in the ocean and stuff like this, and physical feats around the ocean. And I thought, wow, I'll be able to see these people close up and see what they actually look like. And I was shocked because I was expecting, like super women with like, bulging muscles and stuff like that. And the body shape of the women who did best in this were not rounded, but like not like an apple, not rounded, but like, like how to describe it? Well, they've got like the hourglass kind of proportions and stuff like that, but physically they aren't thin, and the muscles aren't really showing. That like the arms are round
Hmm.
without quite thick limbed. So the thighs are really big and the calves are really big, but there's no muscle definition within that. These women, they
Hmm.
didn't have rippling abs. The stomachs were like
Hmm.
just, you know, the whole body was like a thick torso, rounded thighs, rounded arms, and yeah, no like cut muscle in these women who were like champion Iron Women. And you think about that and you think, well, actually, a higher proportion of fat in the body would help you retain more buoyancy and really wouldn't cut your strength down that much, because you still have the same kind of strength underneath that kind of padding. But yeah, they'd probably be more buoyant and able to support themselves in the ocean more. And really, that kind of cutting has nothing to do with physical fitness. That's just
Hmm.
to do with like aesthetics. Like
Yeah.
people like dehydrate themselves in order to
Hmm.
make the muscles and the veins show up. So it's nothing to do with strength. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Or it could even be like and this is just my speculation. I have no idea. Um, but it could even be that they have more endurance because of the fat, in the sense that they don't lose as much um, temperature while in the water. They have more reservoirs or whatever. Like it could actually be
Hmm.
an asset.
Yeah, could be all
Yeah,
those kind of things.
I
Yeah,
think so.
energy reservoirs. Yeah, exactly, and insulation and all kinds of things. Yeah, there's no reason to cut back on that. Like I've known a lot of bodybuilder women over my time in various ways, and there's, unlike our superhero characters who are always perfectly cut and perfectly shaped, these champion bodybuilder women can look like that, but it's usually for a week out of an entire year. Out of 52 weeks in a year, it's a week, and it's that competition week, and they lead up to that. And out of all the other times in the year, they're quite thick-bodied and quite rounded, and their torsos are quite wide. But up to that week, when they're ready for competition, suddenly everything just slips away, and they fast and they do all sorts of things in order to reach that particular thing with that tiny little waist and those rippling abs and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's only for a very brief time. And when I say a week, it's only like for that day when they're absolutely at that peak, and that hour of competition within that day when they're actually at that point. And apart from that, no. So those images you see in photos of real women actually looking like that is only like one split second out of their lives.
Similar to the actors, who this is related to the actors who play superheroes. Get to that point very briefly. Hugh Jackman talks about it. I mean, he's always kind of in shape and stuff like that, but he talks about, Wolverine is coming back, and he had a year or a year and a half or whatever it was. And he's like, okay, I have that time to get myself in Wolverine shape, and it's very specific. Maybe a little longer of a period, obviously, than bodybuilders. But if you pay close attention to movies, a lot of actors will vary a little bit in what they look like. Throughout the movie, because it takes maybe weeks, maybe even a couple of months to shoot something.
Definitely. So, and I mean, actors have the benefit of clothes, so often
they're usually wearing clothes.
They're
often usually shirted and stuff.
They're not just relying on the bare bodies to carry all that weight. So, and padded clothes. So most superheroes you ever see, superhero actors, are wearing padded outfits in various ways, even really, really subtle padding, but always padded. Very few don't. So there's that. And then, of course, there's digital editing and stuff like that, which can help them out. So, yeah. So even them, they will, have that very short space of time where they maintain their absolute peak, and then for the rest of their time, there's help.
Yeah.
I remember seeing who's the guy who was Chuck, that actor, and he was in this film called Shazam, where wears a red suit, like the Captain Marvel, but Shazam. And my God, he looks like a god there. He's this really tall guy, massive muscles, and then you see him in Chuck and you think, oh my God, that's a huge transformation. He's this dorky, normal guy, but you don't realize that's 100% padding. None of his body is that muscular. That's all the suit he's wearing.
Right.
That suit cost $1 million. I'm not exaggerating. It actually cost $1 million.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's where it comes from.
That seems high.
Yeah.
Of course, they would have made like 3 or 4 of these kind of things, but there's specific padding in there. There's lighting. There's all kinds of weird digital effects and stuff like that are all tied into that outfit. But yeah, apparently that's what their costume person said it costs. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
But so variation in mainstream comics is low.
It really is, for various reasons.
Yeah, and it's reasonable considering when you have these hard deadlines, as you said, and you have to make something 20 pages a week or whatever. and probably I'm not even on the correct, probably more depending. Yeah, you probably do need to just have a single or two shapes that you make and just power through it all. So for sure,
And everyone
no.
has hair and clothes that set them apart.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not hurting anything, kind of thing. I do remember back in the probably the early '90s, maybe even earlier, when John Byrne, the great comics artist John Byrne, did. He was doing Marvel stuff for years, and then he went and did his own thing. And he, in one of his comics, The Next Men, he talked about wanting to have setting himself the artistic challenge of setting his characters apart without hair and without different clothes. So these characters were in this compound, raised in this area, and they were all shaved bald. They were all wearing the same thing, and he set it as a personal goal to sort of be able for people to be able to tell who was who. All these white people, bald, in the same outfit. Very cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Proportions and different looking faces and different noses and all that kind of stuff.
that is awesome. Yeah, give this person a square face, give this person a round oval face, give this person
Yeah, tweaking the face just a little bit. Like you don't need to completely reconstruct its face. You can just give very subtle, very very few changes, and you have a completely different person. Legit. You don't need the hair. It is a different person, and thankfully that works extremely well because otherwise I would be in trouble.
it's tricky to get into. I mean, I know there's this racist idea that everyone used to think that Chinese people look the same, and but the reason for that was like say white people, like European based people, we're used to think different hair shades, different hairstyles and colors and stuff like that, but also like different nose shapes and lip shapes and stuff like that. Whereas like a common, I can remember looking at this footage of like Chinese school children back in the day, and obviously there's a lot less ethnic differences between these people for various reasons, and so all black hair, all hair the same length, same style, and it takes a while for your brain to adjust
Exactly.
in order to think, oh yeah, actually these are very different people. It's not just all about hair and like, oh yeah, the eyes are similar and stuff like that, or people all having the same skin color. It's okay, so there's different angles to noses and lips and stuff like that, and different angles to eyes, maybe some more padding under the eyes, maybe the cheeks are slightly wider, some chins are broader, stuff like that.
There is a universal truth that has nothing to do with anyone being racist or not racist or a bigot or whatever. It has nothing to do with that. Where if you are not like habituated, because that is the term, habituated to looking at a different race, and when I say different race, they don't really exist, but whatever. I mean, like black people or Asian people, specific categories of Asian people, specific categories of black people, and so on and so forth. If your mind and eye is not yet habituated in looking at these people, they will look all alike to you for a period of time, and we also look all alike to them for a period of time. It is a given fact, and nobody should be offended by this. I have had when I was, and that was the first time I realized that. Honestly, was when I was in England, and there was this there was this pair of amazingly kind and polite Chinese girls that were living in the dorm room opposite mine, and they had real trouble remembering me and differentiating me from my other Greek compatriots that were living on the other side of my dorm room. By chance, there were like 3 Greeks in a row, and in 3 different rooms, all girls, by the way. And they had serious, sincere trouble telling us apart for the first month.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
We looked alike to them.
Yeah.
Which I found hilarious. One of my Greek compatriots was offended. Then I explained to her that can you tell them apart right now? Just tell them apart right now. And she couldn't. And then she realized that it was a mutual thing.
Yeah.
But after that first month, there was no problem like this at all.
Yeah.
We could tell each other apart, no problem.
Yeah,
So,
it just takes getting used to, doesn't it? Yeah. Like, for example, with like the K-pop stars and the J-pop stars. Like initially, you might be thinking, "Oh my God, yeah, there's all just very similar people with different hairstyles," but very quickly you can see, oh, vastly different people in so many different ways. Like everything about them is different. Well, maybe they're the same age. That's the only real same gender, same age. That tends to be the only similarities between these people. But yeah, you've got no confusion with like nose shapes and eye shapes and chins and jaws and cheeks and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, these variations are quite apparent to you, which is cool.
Yeah. And to take it to design, like when you design a character, it really helps when you design the character to first draw them bold, basically, and name, which is like the easiest way to decide yourself how your characters are going to look like. And then the added bonus is that they are going to look even more different with different hair, eyes, all of that. But if it so happens, for whatever reason, that you have 2 people that both have the same style of hair, they will not be confused.
Yes, the same uniform. So if you're doing military people,
Oh
which
my
is
God,
another interesting, or police, or something like that. Maybe you want them to look the same because that can help your story in a certain way by making people featureless. But yeah, if you're making them more identifiable characters, it can be very tricky to show individuality when people are looking the same in the same uniform. Speaking of your idea of like making people look similar in order to, especially, and Baines, initially you brought this up, in order to increase physical differentiation. There's this great anime, I can't remember what it's called, it's called The Layer or something like that, or the I'm not sure, but anime is a thing very much where usually the only differences between the characters is the hair color and nothing else is different. So you have a blue-haired girl and the pink-haired one and the brown and the whatever. And that's the only difference they often have in these things. Well, in this particular anime, what's really cool about it, all the characters, their physical traits are the same. They're all black-haired. They all have the same black eyes. And that's how they all look. None of them have different hair colors. The differences between them are the heights, the length of the faces, the character traits. What they each, their preferences for things like this. Some are more active, some slower, and stuff like that. So you have to learn to tell the differences in other ways without crazy hairstyles and hair colors and big blue eyes and yellow eyes and all this kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool.
So yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I would recommend it if I could remember the title of the damn thing.
I was gonna say. Sounds like the Power Rangers. Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly.
Okay, yes. I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's something to do with like a coil or something, because there's energy. Okay, so in this world of this anime, there's it's like cyberpunk in that there's an energy layer to the world, and people don't only see the world that around them, they also see the digital version of this world, and they will interact with the digital version as well as the physical version. And everybody just naturally does this because this is part of their world, as you'd expect for any new technology to be. Like we don't all use like our mobile phones as a weird thing. Oh, look, I've got a smartphone, and look, I can take photos and do this and do that. We don't make a big deal out of it. We just use the damn things, And it's the same in this particular world. They use their enhanced digital aspect of the world as a normal part, and it does all sorts of different things. It's very creative and interesting. So that's that one, and I think it's called like Denocoil. There you go, Denocoil. I'll just look that up to make sure. Denocoil anime. Come on. Yep. There we are. Memory is fantastic. Yeah. Awesome. So
Nice.
Everybody has to watch Denocoil.
Sounds interesting, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm probably remembering. It's probably the title of. No, it is actually the title of the thing. Augmented reality. That's the thing. Augmented reality. So there you go. I'll send you a link and you can see. Well, I don't know. Can you guys actually load stuff up on your computers while you're?
Oh no, I'll have to
talking,
do
or
it
does that
later. Yeah.
collapse everything?
Yeah, me too.
Because Baines and Tance are both talking on potatoes with wires stuck in different angles.
Yeah, you were shocking both of us with that talk of phones that take pictures. Like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I was just being polite and nodding my head.
Yeah.
The advanced technology here. Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah, I record Baines and Tance on a reel-to-reel recorder and very carefully digitize.
Very complex.
Well, we've sort of updated from the wax cylinders we used to have, so we're slowly improving the
Yes,
technology.
finally got off those.
So yeah, character differentiation. Okay, so Baines, you've done a bunch of comics recently, and you were telling us about what you had done in the 3D world for your character differentiation.
Yeah, it's funny because drawing stuff, I think, like as far as variation, I think a lot about height. I would have characters of different heights. Have a couple of big hearty characters in my drawn comics, and so yeah, now I'm doing a lot in 3D, and in one of my comics, a bunch of new characters are going to be showing up. So I was designing those characters in 3D, and like Tan said, I was making them bald actually first, so the hair didn't distract. So I could sort of look at them and make them have different faces and and then sort of think about height as well. Like you look at them, say there's 5 new characters, I'm looking at them all together. I'm like, okay, some people should be shorter, some people should be a little bigger. They're all kind of a similar age and stuff like that. So it's tough, and it's hours and hours and hours. Like part of 3D is waiting for things to render so you can sort of look at it. And then changes, and its chin shape, its eye shape. 3D is more exacting. Like my art style is very cartoonish and simpler, so subtler differences go a long way. Yeah, like bigger noses and face shape and all that stuff. It is fun, but it's incredibly time consuming.
It is. Well, I was just thinking about, say, your comic, Typical Strange, which was, the Baines comic.
Mhm.
That
Cool.
one, very distinct in the character differentiation in that. Like, always has been. I mean, the ladies. Let's see.
All different.
Yeah,
And the main
Penelope,
one is
Glenda.
Harley, the blonde gal. I've never really settled completely on a more solid design for her, but everyone else I'm pretty happy, even though they've changed over the years. Yeah, they all have. I do think about that baldness thing, and I've drawn them bald, not in the comic, but yeah, I've drawn them all bald, and they all stand apart quite well,
they
even
really
without
do.
take
Those
away their
characters.
glasses and their hair and stuff like that. Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see them like disguising as each other.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's a good idea.
I mean, I could
Oh
do
my
bottomless.
God, that would be like a terrible exercise for me. Like, okay.
You, you could, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Depends. Say without moonlight would be a bit like doing bottomless waitress disguising each other. People wouldn't really be able to tell that they were in different clothes, but the clothes wouldn't fit. So that would be the only way to show.
As a matter of fact, I am playing with this concept a little bit now in the red carpet because this year the representatives for Without Moonlight are Arthur and Father Yanis. Because yeah, I have like run out of other people that are recognizable enough to go be the representatives. And the thing is that Arthur is tall and wiry and very Nordic, very Thor-like in a sense. Without the physique of Thor, of course, he's very very reedy uh, because he's half starved at this point. Uh, and Yanis is easily a head and a half shorter than him, uh, which you don't immediately see because he wears the hat, the priestly hat.
Yeah.
Um, but Arthur has no clothes, so he has to take loans from
He
Father.
has no clothes in the story, in that he doesn't own clothes.
Oh yeah, that's
But
what
he's
I
not
mean.
nude.
He's not running around
Yes.
naked. But yeah, he basically the only thing he owned the way things happened was the uniform that he's not wearing anymore. So everything that is on his back is a loaner, and that is not that is again the rule for the red carpet. So he is wearing the best suit that Father Yanis had before he donned the habit.
Yeah.
And if you notice, uh, he has like the sleeves are too short, and the jacket does not close in the front, even if he wanted to, and stuff like that.
Oh.
So yeah, I had a bit of fun. I don't expect anyone to notice it, honestly, but I had my fun with that.
Nice.
That's an interesting
Yeah.
detail. I didn't
Yeah.
notice. Didn't think about that.
That's why you
So there
can
might
see
have
his
been.
wrists so well.
Yeah, it's very difficult to make sleeves longer, but say trousers often have a bit of
Yeah,
a bit of fold up inside, so you
yeah,
can let them down a bit.
exactly. So that's why it's not that obvious at the pants because everything has been let out. But yeah, jacket, sorry, you are on your own. Like the shoulders are a little bit higher than they should be, all of that.
Yes,
Mm.
it's very difficult to do jackets.
Yeah. um,
Well, it's very clever, Talents. It's interesting to mention.
oh, thank you.
Having
Thank you.
clothes define people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just thinking of putting. So Polly's this very tall
skinny lady and putting her in Francis's dress would be only funny to me. People say the clothes just look shit on her. That's all. That's all
It looks so weird. Yeah.
Hanging down at the chest and extra short.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it would look weird. Oh dear. But typical Strange, those characters in different outfits would really have a big effect because those are distinctive character outfits.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be massive change.
Yeah, even though
TK
some of them
Oscar
vary a
change.
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they vary, but they have a similar style that they always wear.
Yeah. There's a lot of t-shirts and jeans, but they do all have kind of their own thing, and obviously they're all their own size. So if I switched all their clothes, I think it would be very clear that something was odd.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be bizarre. I actually had a friend the other day who posted photos on Instagram of her. She wears a very specific style of outfit all the time. Very much goth alt, and that's her style. And she changed her outfit with a friend who has a kind of like Victorian kind of hippie vibe. And they were both. She never wears anything else other than her gothic style, and to see her wearing like this Victorian hippie stuff was, oh my god, where has she gone? This is totally different. Oh my god, that's bizarre. So yeah, when people who you expect to see always in the same clothes change it, it's very, very weird. I mean, even Pitface, we all got very used to seeing her in her punky outfits that she always liked to wear, like her jeans and her leather jacket and t-shirts and stuff like that. But that hasn't been her style for a long time now.
But she's always wearing these frilly dresses and
But when she first started changing, it was quite a huge change to see. Yeah.
Right.
Frilly dresses.
Always a parasol. There's always a big hat.
Honestly, if she starts wearing frilly dresses, I will first make sure that she has not been like body snatched.
Yeah.
And then if I'm sure that it's her, I'm going to say awesome.
For sure.
More frills.
She could do it. She could pull it off.
Check your drink.
Yeah,
counts.
absolutely.
You gotta check it, see if you reality. Pinch yourself a few times. Make sure you're not dreaming.
Yeah, is it you, or is it like a weird alien that understands clothing?
That would, yes, very unpit like. Yeah. So yeah, clothing makes a big difference, but the underlying body shape is something even more distinctive, and face shape as well. Like, when I was saying with my characters, like, okay, so Frances is a short, compact lady, very distinct hourglass shape, big boobs, big bum, but she has this kind of squarish face, around, more a compact shape. So those faces lend themselves to being round like an apple, but they can also be quite square when people don't have a lot of fat on their face. So those are the same face, from the same place, square or round. So yeah, she's got quite a squarish face. I like with Polly, she's a very long and tall person, but she has a very long, horsey face, and I can tend to exaggerate that depending on how I feel or what kind of things she's expressing, and it's fun to do. That very difference. Whereas Jane is the middle between them, but she has a longer face. And all of them have distinct cheekbones, just because I like to do it because I have cheekbones. And you naturally draw your own face in a lot of ways. For Nikki, she has a very kind of rectangular right angle sort of face with a more like the classical Greek nose. I mean, I know this isn't actually Greek people have this nose, but this was known as a Greek nose because it's like
yeah.
And that's her. she looks almost like the Sphinx. She's got this very very specific head shape, and I love doing these vast differences between the characters.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Jane is a weird one too, because she's sort of like she's, I don't know, she's like a one of her parents is African, and that gives her a different look. So she's sort of a bit mixed, and the degree to which she is depends on how I'm drawing her at the day. But I'm never going to go extreme and make her like a racial caricature. She's not a blackface person. She's there's just a subtle thing there, because I'm careful about that, because if you exaggerate ethnic, racial archetypes too much, then you make a caricature.
Yeah.
And it becomes racist.
Yeah.
So you've got to be subtle. But then you don't want to make, this is just a white person with dark skin. That is racist again. So you've got to have a bit of a clever, not a clever, but you've got to have be more subtle.
Yeah.
Within that. Yeah. It's not easy.
No.
Jeez.
Like if you were actually drawing a black person, like not a mixed person, it's a bit easier. Or a white person who's not mixed, it's a bit easier, because you're not having to go along such a line then, are you? So that's a podcast in itself. That really is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I've like Asian characters. I haven't got any Asian characters. Like when I say Asian characters, I mean like East Asian, like Chinese or Korean,
I had
Japanese.
some
Philippine.
concept art for like a Wolf sequel that I was going to do, and then I abandoned for various reasons. So I do, like, she was like, her name was Megumi, and she was very Asian, like probably Chinese, because back then I wasn't very clear on the subtle differences between Japanese, Chinese, and Korean, but probably Chinese. There is a very distinct difference in proportions of the face that signal Asian, without that making it weirdly, like 1930s Disney weird caricature. It just there is just a very specific set of proportions in like the way you draw the nose, the way you draw the profile, the double lid in the eyes, that sort of thing. And other than that, normal.
Yeah. I mean, I avoid. I sometimes attempt it, but usually I avoid drawing East Asian people, because I don't want to be racist and exaggerate features, but I also don't want to get it wrong and mess it up.
There are some great tutorials, and I do collect some of those, because I intend to, especially in my fantasy comic, I want to experiment with, a variety of racial range, let's say, in humans. So I do have tutorials that people that are Asian, people that are African, and so on, tell you how to draw themselves, like how to draw Asian people, how to draw African people, and there are like little hacks, if you like, that help. So yeah.
It's tricky.
Mm-hmm.
One good thing to do, of course, is just to sketch real people.
Yep.
And see if you can do that. But yeah, it's not easy. I've done it myself, and it's hard to pick up those
those issues, those types
Mhm.
of things. Yeah, nose shapes, lip shape, all that kind of stuff. It's not easy, especially when you're doing digital drawing and you're limited to size. All right then. Okay, guys. We should
Indeed.
wrap up because
Yeah.
Google's telling us it's gonna kill the cast.
Yes, we are being
So-
killed. Why?
Very interesting stuff.
Very.
Thank you for listening to Quackcast number 652. I've been Ocean Ocean, and with me has been Tarnson Baines.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Grazie. Have a nice evening. And night.
Yeah. The call is about to end. We're just going to keep talking until it ends.
Yay, yes.
Okay, because there's something important that I wanted to get into.
Now, I hope it was about boobs, Baines.
No, this is
Babe.
deep.
I'm calling you Babe now.
Yeah, this is life stuff. This is a little bit